Hey! Welcome back, guys, for another dev diary for the upcoming expansion for Hearts of Iron 4. Today, we have the National Focus Tree deep dive for Ethiopia. I think what's cool about this is Ethiopia is nothing like any other nations in Hearts of Iron 4. Historically, it didn't exist after 1936. And then, I guess it's like the second African national focus in all of Hearts of Iron 4. The first being South Africa and Together for Victory 3 years ago. It's been a while, lads. It's been a while. At the very start of the game, you start at war. And they're the only nation in the game that has that. Italy, Ethiopia, who will win? The battle for the Horn of Africa. We're going to find out today. One thing you don't know about in Hoi 4 is the war actually started before the 1st of January 1936. The Italians invaded in 1935 and initially were pushed back by the Ethiopians in what they refer to as the Christmas Offensive. And the game just begins kind of as the borders have just stabilized, the maximum extent of Ethiopia, which is very close to the borders that you get in Hearts of Iron 4. Look at this boyo with his gun and his... Is this a shield or is it a hat? Is this proportional? Is he standing on the railway lines? My goodness, Ethiopians are huge. Clearly godlike people. Hear that? God. Did you hear that? There might be more of that in this focus tree. So it makes a note here that the war started in October 1935. Initially, the Italians made gains. Ethiopians counterattack and push them back to their normal borders, hence where the game starts in Hoi 4. However, they eventually lost the war, and then the Ethiopians reappeared in 1942 to reclaim their motherland. How will that be represented in Hearts of Iron 4, though? That's difficult, because if a nation capitulates and is annexed, technically they're gone for good. But the new mechanics in this focus tree will allow you to continue, even if you don't survive at the very beginning. How exciting will that be? That's a big challenge for the developers here, because that could be quite dull. Being a government in exile has a lot of buttons and a lot of features nobody uses, so I'm going to give them a shot. It might be good, it might not be, we'll see. How does the game start, though? So we have this glorious leader here. Clearly the people love them because it's going to give you a little bit more political power. Mobilization speed is good for manpower. Ideological defense is the one that no one uses, but every nation seems to have it. It means that if someone tries to push towards their ideology using either a national focus or a spy, they've got like a 10% resistance in this case. Notable nations are USA over 50% defense, and the UK's got a 50% defense as well. Hence the reason why it's almost impossible to try and flip the UK and USA. What this is meant to reflect is that they do love the king. Not only is he the lion of the tribe of Judea, his imperial majesty, the king of kings, the lord of lords, the elected of God. Man, he has a lot of titles. He loves his titles. He's been playing CK3. And also you start off with this national spirit. Man, they start with a lot of them, don't they? So one thing to understand about Ethiopia's army, it's not modern, it's not up to date. It's referred to as a more traditional army, using irregulars, using militias, focusing not on modern war tactics. They've even not grasped the concept of entrenchment. Entrenchment penalty, max entrenchment penalty, actual defense penalty. This army attacks and practically does nothing else. And this army experience gain, minus 20%, limits your ability how quickly you can reform it as well. There's got to be a lot of options. Do you want to reform the army? Make it more modern? Or do you want to stick with a militia method and try and, well, use your own traditional army and see if you can continue and defeat the Italians? We'll see. The map! My memory might be incredibly poor. I may be very old, but my understanding is that Ethiopia was one state. Am I wrong or am I right? Is my imagination just crazy at the moment? Well, anyway, it is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a lot of opportunities for expansion. Remember, new states means new building slots, means potentially new resources, new opportunities to build infrastructure, potentially a lot of development in East Africa. Doesn't look like British Somaliland, though, or Eritrea or Somalia has any extra states, though. Kind of implies that maybe there won't be as many options in this focus tree to claim East Africa, maybe? I don't know. It's hard to say. So now we have the Ogana Desert. Ogaden. So additionally, the Ogaden Desert is now classed as a desert, where before it was plains, I believe. So in Ethiopia, there was one plain tile in the north, and Italian generals would grind it to try and get the desert fox, just so they can get adaptable. Now there's more opportunity to do that. More desert. Amazing. What's the situation? The Ethiopians are trying to get attention from the League of Nations, which is kind of the NATO of the 1930s, to try and understand that the war that the Italians have declared for is illegal. And as time goes on, you will plead your case more and more to the League of Nations, therefore to unlock opportunities to escalate the war and potentially gain arms, gain divisions, gain more supplies, so that eventually you can defeat the Italians. So by the looks of things, you're going to be on the defensive. and you're going to plead your case to the League of Nations more and more and more to potentially turn the war in your favor. So the Christmas offensive is just about to end, which I assume is like an attack bonus, and then the escalation of war allows potentially new decisions, possibly. Could give potential new national focuses. And also we have disband the Chiat, which looks like a bunch of levies. So it looks like the majority of your army at the very start of the game is going to be militia levies, probably weaker troops, ones you can't modify, probably ones you can't disband. But when the war is over, more than likely you'll have to disband them. Farmers, go back to your fields. Oh, here we go. So level 4, so there's different stages here, different escalation levels. And it looks like over time, 120 days, wow, for one escalation. So it takes quite a while, almost half a year to go at one escalation level. Remember, this is a work in progress. This could change. However, each time you get each level, it gives you something to unlock. In this case, at level 4, you can purchase arms off the League of Nations. Is this a national focus? Because I saw one down here that said purchase arms of the League of Nations. Or is it like a decision you press and it gives you some guns? If it's so, if it's the decision one, man, that can be up for abuse. I love those decisions. France has one, but I don't really take advantage of it. And if there are any mods out there that do take advantage of it, you want to hit that button because it just gives you free guns. Modernizing the industry. And here we have the industrial focus tree. It's relatively short, but it gets to the point. I know some of you have got like this thing for big focus trees, and I'm really against them. I think when you have a big focus tree, you have lots of bulk, a lot of slowdown, and you don't have a lot of actual content. If one focus gives you one infrastructure that's 35 days, and the next one gives you another infrastructure at 35 days, why just not combine those two into a 70-day focus? I don't see the point. Anyway, regardless, nothing here that really jumps out, but overall, it looks like there's a lot of opportunities to develop your Ethiopian land, which is always good to see. I love the concept of someone who starts off with practically nothing. You've got 4 factories at the start of the game. Go from 4 factories to like a major power. I know that's over the top, maybe a little bit unrealistic, but how cool is that? It just feels fun to go from a nobody to a somebody. That's so cool. Yeah, maybe the real opportunity is to actually land troops in Ethiopia. Maybe there's some kind of event around that. That'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? No? Yes? No? Maybe? Very start of the game, all the land is classed as developed land, so therefore has a big penalty. So more than likely, you're going to have to focus on your industry to really get things going. So they start off with penalties, you start off with more penalties, and then you've got to do for focuses to get rid of those penalties. It usually really beats the man when he's down. A lot of the companies you got in the start of the game too are all ones that are part of like foreign nations. So this one is Ethiopian, this one too. Teneco, is that, I don't know what company is that. I feel like that is that American, but this one, Standard Oil of California, is American. Could be really interesting to see if this what it actually does give. Maybe you can tap into oil in Ethiopia. I don't know. Is there no oil there? 2 infantry designers, which is actually good too. It's nice to have options as well, particularly if the bonuses are worth it. So therefore, you've got to really think about which option is going to be best for you. That really excites me. You've got more militia. Yay. So militia tend to perform better when attacking in different terrain types. However, their overall fighting capabilities are more limited, and you can't edit the template. So eventually you can modernize the army to get a regular infantry, but overall, at the very start of the game, it might be easy to use your regulars. In this case, you've got options to expand them. In this case, giving more organization, giving you more irregular divisions overall, and moving the balance of power towards Sephafit side. That's the one, yeah. That's the one. So that seems to be a theme of this expansion. Is this a recurring theme for Hearts of Iron 4, where you're going to have balance of power from left and right? Is there going to be a militia system for all nations? It seems to be the theme of this expansion. Is it a theme, or is it an ongoing trend that we're going to get more and more with Hoi 4? I don't know. Here is the army focus tree. My God, this is a big boy. It's interesting university, administration, and technology. These look like research slots. Scavenger tactics. Interesting. Oh, I wonder if this is going to give a passive bonus to scavenging weapons off the Italians. That's actually really different, kind of cool. Camouflage looks like it's going to avoid damage from CAS and fighters. Interesting how it concludes with 3 different options. Promote the war veterans, expand the officer corps, or the common soldier. It's really interesting to see these 3 focuses here for Navy, for Ethiopia, the nation that doesn't even connect to the ocean. The balance of power. So they're not going into much depth with the balance of power system. It will be for Ethiopia. It looks like it's going to be siding with the Mesafint, which is the nobility of Ethiopia, or the government bureaucracy, which is more than likely going to give bonuses each way that you then go. Catastrophic effects if one side gets absolute power over the other. Ah, the good old karma system. This is the dedicated part of the focus tree for the war that you start the game in. I love this. This is a really cool concept. You basically focus on defense or focus on attack. But however, no matter where you go, after these 3 focuses, this on the left or the right, you can go for any of these 3. It looks like The Last Stand, The Lessons of War, and Mercenaries, looking like to give some decent bonuses more than likely. So it's kind of a case of, do you want to spend your own focuses to try and defend yourself, or do you want to appeal to the League of Nations by going for their national focuses? That's a really good choice. That's really, really cool. So if you want to stay with your leader of Ethiopia and stay in Africa, you can rally to the emperor Alternatively, you can start to appeal to the League of Nations. It looks like they're the main two historical paths. Anti-Italian propaganda and reclaiming Ethiopia. As you can see, as you go further down the addressing the League of Nations, you've got purchasing arms, requesting an embargo, closing the Suez. Oh, wow. Would that mean they run out of supplies? Whoa. How would they get supplies? That's a good point. Oh, but they'd have to go through Gibraltar, which basically means they're going to like use twice as many convoys. Isn't that even that bad? Probably not. International brigades. Apparently, it's going to give you like a multicultural brigades that can help you out and divisions from abroad. And international mediation. Basically, I think this is a way of white peace. It's going to be strange at white piecing though at that point, because like where do you go from there? You know, you've white pieced the Italians, they've still got Eritrea and Somaliland. Where do you go from there? Maybe a mediation option could lead to you gaining territory, possibly. So here we go then, going into exile and coming back. So this is the historical path. You lose to the Italians, and it is mentioning after having done the focus boarding the train and having found a host nation to flee to, the king will continue to fight if and when Ethiopia capitulates Italy, just like he did historically. This is really intriguing because it's so different, but also kind of scary because, once again, what are you going to be doing? Are you just going to be selecting a focus every 70 days? What are you going to do at that point? I can't figure it out. It just feels like a dead end. I want to try this path because it's so different. This is really interesting. An audience with the Führer, befriend Göring. So this basically creates a divide between Italy and Germany. That's such a cool concept. Germans coming through the Alps, through Austria, into Italy, backed by the Ethiopians. What timeline is this, lads? An Arabian base. I wonder if maybe the UK will give you one half of Yemen, and that could be like your staging platform to continue your war. That would be so weird and so difficult to survive too. So what if you refuse to go for outside help? First of all, it is harder to win. Below you can see the entire pre-peace branch for choosing to stay. I have a feeling, because this is the more difficult path, the rewards are going to be the best. The heroes of Ethiopia. The lion stands firm. The way a focus tree should always work is, the harder the path is, the more you have to struggle in the middle or the very beginning, the bigger payoff should be at the end. I always think the perfect focus tree is a runway, okay? So you're gaining speed, momentum, and then you take off here, and then it gives you a juicy reward for persevering through the strain of the middle of the focus tree. Because at the end of the day, if the end of the focus tree is war goal against the Soviet Union or 2 infrastructure, you're just going to be rolling your eyes and you're like, why would I want to go down that path, huh? You know, the biggest thing, it sounds really dumb, and you guys are probably going to get triggered by this. What's wrong with a focus that takes 70 days but doesn't give anything? And the idea behind it is that hypothetical runway that eventually delivers you to loads of reduction consumer goods or civilian factories, or like 20,000 guns, or even the concept of destroying your industry by selling it off to potentially gain guns. The idea of you've only got 2 civilian factories, we can give one away and get 10k guns off the League of Nations. Why not? You know, why not? You're basically going for short-term gains, but long-term it's going to sting because you're going to be losing your precious industry. So this is the full war with Italy part of the focus tree if you go to stick with the emperor. So this is the historical path, boarding the train, because this is you going into exile. Well, the left path is the hardest path, where you stay in Ethiopia and you fight the Italians. I wonder if you still can address the League of Nations if you go down the left path, but the process will be slower because you don't have the addressing the League of Nations. When the war is done, what is next? The King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, elect of God, restoring the empire of Aksum, the one hair of Solomon, and Jah. So this is going to be like forging a holy Beta Israel Horn of Africa empire, isn't it? It's going to be the most OP bonuses possible. It's going to be Super Saiyan Empire of Ethiopia, where this Pan-Africanism, this is going to be like trying to kind of piss off all the imperial powers by like disturbing all their African colonies. And then finally, we've got towards African unity. Is this potentially unifying Africa under one flag? Oh my God, that's so cool. That is so cool. How will it work though if half of Africa isn't even independent? At the very start of the game, remember this, guys, at the very start of the game, there's only 3 nations that are independent in Africa: Ethiopia, Eritrea, and South Africa. And I really don't think South Africa is going to be too interested in joining Ethiopia. They're so far away. And, well, I guess it's a dominion, isn't it, South Africa? So here we go. Toward African unity. So this one, you create a faction. It unlocks decision to increase resistance and boost autonomy gain in African countries. Whoa. Allows Ethiopia to intervene in Africa, the wars of independence. It creates unrest, potentially creates rebellions, and then when the rebellions happen, you can join the war. This has got to be worth your while, though. The amount it increases resistance has got to be high, because you need an average of 90 resistance in all core territories to cause it to rebel, which is so rare. It happens so rarely in Hoi 4. For this to be worthwhile, this has got to be cheap, effective. It's got to require command power, some kind of resource you're not using. This has got to be worth your while. Please don't half-ass this. This is going to be so cool. Please make it worth my while, please. And here we go. Here are the advisors. So we have lots of advisors. Some of them are specific to certain ideologies. So there are going to be different ideological paths, but they're not going to talk about it in this focus tree. Sad face. But some interesting options here for sure. And this guy, collaborationalist, Archbishop. Oh, I see what's happening here. When you go for this guy, you work with the Italians, so you eventually can stay independent by being underneath of the Italians. Oh, wow. We're basically doing Czechia, a puppet of Bohemia, a puppet of Germany, aren't we? The military high command is nothing unique, but they're very cheap advisors, though. Guys, this is the new Ethiopian focus tree. This is probably the most interesting of the three due to the fact that you start at war. I just realized Italy starts at war, don't they? So they're not the only ones. Whoa! A lot of these focus trees have got a lot in common. Is Switzerland going to start a war as well? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed Dev Diaries. I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Hey, you made it to the end. Now, this is the video you want.